Okay, we are getting meanwhile the first visuals of the attack at the Amarnath Yatra. I am also hearing from Omar Abdullah, who is tweeting at the moment, and we'll try to get him on the phone line, saying that this terror attack is one which has no place in Kashmir and Kashmiriyat, saying these are terrorists who are doing great damage to the whole notion of Kashmiriyat by killing innocent pilgrims. That's the terrible news that's coming in at the moment from Kashmir. The fact is that an Amarnath Yatra has been attacked, a police patrol was attacked, and along with the police patrol, pilgrims also attacked. Yatris have been killed, 6 Amarnath pilgrims have been killed. The fact is that terrorists have struck again, and this is a moment to reflect on just how terrorism in Kashmir has once again spiraled out of control. That's the news that's coming in from Kashmir at the moment. Shujaul Haq, our correspondent, has been reporting that the injured have been taken to a nearby hospital. Troubling news at the moment. KC Singh is joining me. He was to join me on the medical story of Sushma Swaraj saying that Pakistan was denying even medical visas to its own citizen. But KC, this really shows the inhumanity and barbarity of terror at the moment. When Yatris are killed in this manner, that makes it even more difficult to believe that any kind of normalcy can be restored.
Well, that's precisely what the terrorists do all over the world. Their actions are completely dehumanized, and they are operating from an entirely different perspective. In fact, it would be surprising if the attack did not take place, because for the Yatra to go without any incident is a defeat for the terrorists, and the terrorists to strike at the Yatris is his way of succeeding and keeping the trouble alive. So it would have been expected, but it's sad it's happened. I don't know what the security personnel can really do, because the length of the march is so long. It's almost an impossible task for them to secure every kilometer of it or half a kilometer of it.
Given the fact that terrorists seem to be operating with such impunity, particularly in Anantnag, which is the Chief Minister's home district, more proof perhaps that this part of Kashmir is slipping out of the hands of the security forces. And it comes what? Just 2 days after the Burhan Wani death anniversary. I'm just wondering whether the terrorists are once again trying to send a message that they remain in control of this part of South Kashmir.
Look, terrorists would always choose. This has happened in the past. This happened in Punjab when militancy was there, killing of Hindus, pulling them out of a bus. When they are under pressure, or when something has not happened for a while, then they would always pick on a target, and pick on a very conspicuous target which enrages the public. Then the security forces hit back, and that alienates the local Muslim population further. I mean, that's the classic methodology of how terrorist functions. So it's neither new nor surprising. It's happened many times before. That's also how ISIS does it. When they are under pressure, they will go and hit somewhere and create an incident, so that the focus remains on their subject. They are able to seize the pictures, to get on the television, get on the radio, get attention, and they again center news.
You know, Shujaul Haq, you're joining us. There is KC Singh saying how difficult it is to patrol the entire Amarnath Yatra. There have been attacks that have taken place in the past, and these attacks have led to calling off the Yatra. I come back to it. Are you getting any information that the Yatra will be called off, at least temporarily?
Not officially yet, Rajdeep, but like I was pointing out, most of the top officials have rushed to Anantnag. I'm getting to know that in some time, some moments from now, they will take an official call on that, whether for tomorrow the Yatra will be called off or not. But at this point of time, there is no vehicular movement of Yatris that I can confirm. In fact, some of the areas where this attack has taken place have been sealed off. Let's remember, this is the attack where, the spot where this attack attack took place is bang on the national highway, and this is the only road link that connects the valley with the rest of the country. And it is not the first time that such an attack has taken place on the national highway. It has been witnessed to many attacks, particularly targeting security forces, their convoys. And from the preliminary reports that we are receiving today, it seems that the first attack was on the security forces vehicle only, which was heading on that was plying on that road. And after that, this particular vehicle in which yatris were traveling came under fire. There was a lot of firing that locals heard from both sides at that point of time. Even as we speak, a lot of reinforcement has been sent to the area. They're trying to look out for those attackers who carried out this attack and fled from the spot.
There will be questions also, KC Singh, which will be asked about the government strategy for Kashmir. Because every few days we have these high-profile terror attacks taking place, police parties in particularly being targeted. Where does this leave our Kashmir policy?
I think the government has been adamant. They want to keep the alliance intact with PDP. They want to keep the pretense on that things are normal, and through normal security arrangements they can stabilize it. But obviously I think there's a law of diminishing returns. I don't think PDP has a connect with the people any longer, which is a help to the security forces. Because the whole point of having a political entity like in Punjab, KPS Gill, who's passed away, had failed once and came away. He only succeeded in combination with Beyonce. So I think it's time the central government faced up to it, that simply keeping an entity there which has lost its connect with the people is not a help. Actually, it's a hindrance.
That really is worrying at the moment. Any reactions at all from the Mehbooba government at all so far, Shujaul Haq? Because this is Mehbooba Mufti's constituency. This is where even a by-election could not take place in the month of May, and where repeated terror attacks are taking place. Is the sense that the government is also losing control in parts of Kashmir?
Well, certainly, Rajdeep, those would be the questions that will automatically be, raised. Because this is for the first time we are seeing an attack like this in which Amarnath Yatris have been, have been targeted, and some of them have succumbed. There certainly are going to be questions with regards to the safety and security and the measures that the government has put in place. As far as reactions are concerned, I've managed to speak to some of the ministers, particularly those who belong to South Kashmir, some of the leaders. Most of them seem to be aghast because, like I was pointing out, it has come to us as a surprise to even the security forces and other people. There were apprehensions because the kind of attacks, the increase in the number of attacks that we've been seeing of late, particularly in South Kashmir, the number of rising number of militants, particularly local militants, and their tactics of constantly and repeatedly targeting security forces. They have vehicles on the roads, on the convoys. This has been a cause of concern for a lot of experts for a lot of time, and this certainly was reflected in various security-related meetings that top officials have held among themselves with regards to Amarnath Yatra as well. Why still this kind of an attack has taken place is something that will be a question.
Let me go to the location. Our reporter is giving us an update on what is happening on the ground at the moment.
माहौल यहाँ पे बना हुआ है, चारों तरफ यहाँ पे इस वक्त कॉर्डन ऑफ कर दिया गया है। इश्तियाक सोफी, ग्राउंड रिपोर्ट, अनंतनाग आज तक।
Our reporter there at the moment, let's just listen in. Aaj Tak reporting from the ground where our sister channel, where this attack has taken place in Anantnag. Remember, 6 yatris at least have been killed, we are told, in this terrible incident that has taken place at the moment in Anantnag district. Our correspondent reporting on the ground and telling us what has happened at the moment on ground zero. The incident, we are told, took place at about 8:20 p.m. So it happened under the cloak of darkness. These are terrorists who have been operating in this area of South Kashmir with some impunity. And the worrying fact, as I keep reiterating, a lot of this is happening in and around the areas which were the bastions of the ruling PDP. So questions will also be raised about whether the ruling PDP itself has lost control of the situation in parts of the valley. But the Amarnath Yatra is a very extended one. Patrolling every inch is not easy, and clearly at the moment, as Mr. K.C. Singh also was suggesting, it isn't easy for the security setup, particularly with the number of local militants who are growing all the time. But that's the disturbing news that's coming in at the moment from Srinagar. Let's listen in.
अब बिल्कुल आप इस वक्त एक्सक्यूज जो तस्वीर देख रहे हो कि यहाँ पे जम्मू श्रीनगर राष्ट्रीय राजमार्ग अनंतनाग बैटिंगों के पास आज एक बार फिर मिलिटेंट्स ने स्पेशल ऑपरेशन ग्रुप पर हमला किया है। फिलहाल मैं आपको बता दूं कि जम्मू श्रीनगर राष्ट्रीय राजमार्ग को यातायात के लिए बंद किया गया है और उसके साथ साथ जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस स्पेशल ऑपरेशन ग्रुप और सेंट्रल रिजर्व पुलिस फोर्स ने पूरे इलाके को कॉर्डन ऑफ कर दिया है। और उसके साथ साथ इस वक्त आप एक्सक्यूज जो तस्वीर देख रहे हो कि कैसा माहौल यहाँ पे बना हुआ है। चारों तरफ यहाँ पे इस वक्त कॉर्डन ऑफ कर दिया गया है। Ishtiaq Sofi, ground report, Anantnag.
Right, that's the terrible news that's coming in at the moment once again from Anantnag. It's the story that we will track this evening, a story which in a sense reflects just how precarious the situation remains in the valley, on the edge, and makes it that much more difficult to see how there can be any kind of political dialogue given what's happening at the moment in the valley. 6 Amarnath Yatris have been killed. K.C. Singh, in your view, should the Yatra be called off? Would that be a sign of weakness?
Difficult to assess. It'll have to be assessed by the security agencies. But one thing which is surprising is, why were they moving after sunset? I mean, that would be if things were completely normal in the valley. Or did they have that escort with them? Because that's what your reporter was saying, that first the security vehicle was fired on and then the firing started there. So probably they're moving them at night with the escorts. No, obviously there's good intelligence available to the militants. They knew that there is a movement of Yatris, and even when accompanied by a security vehicle, if that is what your reporter is suggesting, then this is not working. So the call has to be taken. There's no point simply just insisting that you're going to go on with it, because you're presenting a target to the militant, and therefore militant gets an opportunity to again be on the television screen, again whip up sentiments within the valley with this, and therefore cause more disturbance.
Worry, of course, is that with every such incident, the divide is growing in the valley, and there is a sense that the valley is hostage at times to these repeated terror attacks designed to undermine the state. The security forces, in a sense, have found themselves in a very difficult situation where a number of locals have often also tended to side with militants on the ground and terrorists on the ground, especially in parts of South Kashmir, and that is making that life that much difficult, particularly as there appears to be a political vacuum, and that is the concern that people will have. The political vacuum means that we do not have an immediate solution to these repeated terror attacks that have taken place in the valley. Police parties in particular have been soft targets, but this time by targeting Yatris, the terrorists have put themselves in a situation where there will be widespread anger and outrage over how they are getting away with repeated instances of this manner. Those exclusive pictures are coming in at the moment from the spot where this has happened. Clearly this was a well-planned attack by terrorists, and as Mr. K.C. Singh just said, that it happened after nightfall clearly suggests that the terrorists tried to strike after in the cloak of darkness. Why the Yatris at that particular time were out and about will be a question that will have to be answered by the security agencies. But life clearly is a very difficult one at the moment for the security forces as well in Kashmir, where they really are finding themselves caught in the crossfire, as it were. And in South Kashmir in particular, the situation really seems to have spiraled out of control. Those are the images, as we said, high security now, every road being guarded very carefully after that attack has taken place in the valley. Terrorists opening fire at the bus is the first thing that we know. They then targeted the police party which was escorting the Yatri. The attack happened at about 8:20 this evening, is what we know. 6 pilgrims have been killed in this gruesome terror attack that has taken place in the Kashmir Valley. The 2 yatris, we are told, at least 2 of the yatris that we know has been hailed are from Gujarat. Omar Abdullah tweeting, "These terrorists are the enemies of Kashmir and Kashmiriyat." This in fact is a response to a tweet that I had put out a short while ago saying, what kind of Kashmiriyat is this if innocent yatris are going to be killed in this manner? Every right-thinking Kashmiri must today condemn the killing of the Amarnath Yatris. And that is Omar Abdullah at the moment saying, giving those comments. We are still waiting to hear from the government. We'll try and get a phone in from Omar Abdullah himself to get his reactions to that terrible incident. But he's absolutely right. All right-thinking Kashmiris today should condemn what has happened in the valley. It's a terrible, terrible incident to have taken place. It is an incident which really reveals how fragile the situation on the ground is. Shuja ul Haq is giving us more details at the moment. Shuja, I presume that there will be more security now in these sensitive areas as a result of this attack. Already the Amarnath Yatra was under high security cordon. Presumably that security will now be increased, or will the Yatra be called off completely?
Well, yes, those are the questions that will be answered. Maybe by late tonight, because they'll have to take a call whether they will carry on with the yatra tomorrow at least. But right now, what we've been given to understand from the ground is that the place where this attack has taken place, it has all been cordoned off. There is no vehicular movement that has been allowed through that spot. And like I was pointing out earlier, it is the national highway that is the sole link to Kashmir Valley from the rest of the country. And also, Rajdeep, there are some very pertinent questions that will have to be answered. The attack took place at night at around 8:30. What was this yatra vehicle doing at that point of time? Why was it being plied at that point of time? There are already some unconfirmed reports suggesting that this particular vehicle was not even registered with the Amarnath Yatra Shrine Board. So if that was the case, how was it plying? How was it allowed to ply? During that point of time, which is
saying
anyway,
that it is unusual. Are you saying it is unusual for a yatra vehicle to be plying at 8:20 in the evening?
Yes, absolutely, Rajdeep. It is unusual for a yatra vehicle to be plying at that point of time. Most of the vehicular movement with regards to yatra is done during the daylight and in a very secure atmosphere. So there will be questions, asked as to what really was this yatra, this particular vehicle doing at that point of time. How was it allowed at at such a vulnerable time? So these are the questions that would be definitely asked, and the answers would be sought. But at this point of time, the entire.
In fact, as you say that we are putting out the lapses that have taken place. Clearly, the security forces will have questions that will be asked about this. No escort normally after 7:30 p.m. As you rightly said, it is unusual that this should take place after 7:30. The bus, in fact, was not registered, we are now told, with the Amarnath Yatra board. These are serious lapses that will have to be looked at, because it shows the weaknesses that exist in the system. The bus was not registered with the board, and the questions that will be raised will be questions that will be extremely troubling in the days ahead. What was the reason why this bus was plying at 8:20? But the immediate thoughts are with the families of the pilgrims. It is they who our thoughts are with, because remember, it's they who have suffered. It's the innocents who have suffered at the moment. I'm just going to, at this moment...